Hello, I'm King2 and welcome to the review of the T1 and LCK Series. As usual, we're going over the picks and ban phase and focus on what the teams want and achieve with their drafts. Shortly, on a serious note here, T1 here again with the roster of Kaz, Closer and Teddy. So for this week we had one and the same roster, but getting into the games now. With the pick and ban phase of game number 1, we see the Camille, Kalista and Udyr taken away by LCK. Nothing all too surprising. LCK had watched the previous games of T1 and banning the comfort picks for players like Canna, Kaz or Teddy. And personally I like how it is at the moment that we don't have like 6 overpowered champions that need to be banned every game, and team can ban more freely and use this against specific opponents. On the other side, Samira, Talia and the Zerfine, for banning the Talia obviously in every game, and the Zerfine, a pick that LCK had shown in the past and T1 doesn't really want to deal with it. So quite adept bans against the responding teams on both sides. Going into the first pick here of the Olaf with the better junglers banned here at the moment. He finds his way onto LCK side, and as also Dread has been the standout player on LCK, getting him a champion that can do something in the early game here. It's quite smart in their side. 41, Kai'Sa and Syndra are the elected picks. Kai'Sa being widely regarded as the best AD carry in the moment, well, at least in pro play. Other regions have been straying away from her more and more, for example the LEC. And already we see into the Olaf it can be quite hard with the range misalignment in her kit. Well, right, Olaf short range, Kai'Sa short range, so Kai'Sa will find some issues here. The Syndra though, quite the bread and butter mid laner for what it feels like forever now. With the Kai'Sa on her team, the skirmish power of T1 is being further developed, but the problem with Kai'Sa's AP, it's a bit annoying for Syndra because there will potentially be more magic resistance, obviously hampering her damage a bit. Here T1, electing the AD carry and the mid laner, getting high priority picks. They're also now counterable in these positions and revealing some of the more key positions at today's meta. On the other side we see the same rotation of AD carry mid laner for LCK. The Xayah Kai'Sa matchup brings us back to the AD carry meta of 2018. Kai'Sa the more aggressive pick here, Xayah more defensive and often also the better team fighter. And in the laning phase it mostly depends on the supports, as so often in the bot lane. Orianna into Syndra, nothing too uncommon either. It's hard to counter pick. It's not really a hard counter pick like the Echo, and also not as aggressive, but a pick that is able to hold their own, and quite fine for Fly here. It's quite a comfortable pick. He played it quite a lot in the past, so a decent mid lane pick here, while the AD carry is also going into an okay direction. So far LCK has elected some decent more teamfight tools, while T1 has more skirmishing tools so far. Rounding up the first pick phase with the Jarvan. Here Jarvan, a bit of a strange pick. He's doing quite bad into the Olaf. He was regarded as the isolation counter pick into the Olaf back then, but that was with the old items, and quite a lot has changed here. Overall, he's clear slower, he loses the 1v1 fights, and the Orianna would be a nice Cataclysm target here in the later team fights, but usually she stays quite far away in her own backline, and in such cases she also has the flash if need be, so it's quite forced. In the early game with the Syndra, their mid-jungle duo is quite good. Obviously the setup of both of their CCs quite nice. In the 2v2 against LCK side though, I feel it's still not good enough. The Olaf is just way stronger than the Jarvan at the moment. So either they have some well thought out strategy here, or it's just overall quite strange. And yeah, we have to wait and see for this set strategy. Coming to the next ban phase, we see the Gnar and the Galio here being banned on Afrika's side. Obvious combinations that could work well with the Jarvan are here banned. Well, that was 100% expected. So yeah, let's see if T1 has something different in mind. Naja, and on the other side, the bans here for T1 with the Ornn and the Rakan, yeah, make also quite sense. Xayah Rakan, yeah, disabling this year, and the Ornn in general, a strong pick against, yeah, the rather immobile champions here, and obviously his E can break Jarvan's ultimate, so yeah, it makes sense against every pick on T1's side here, and also it would further help Afrika Freaks with their scaling against T1, who have, yeah, at least one liability now in their draft. So overall the bans on both sides do make quite some sense. Yeah, so starting with the next pick phase here for T1, they are electing the Gragas, probably going into the top lane. Obviously the option of a Gragas flex into the support position does exist here, but yeah, for Canna, who has played it in the past quite a lot, it's expected to go into the top lane. It's decent here, while there's no perfect blind pick overall. The fat man can be left alone, so Jarvan can work around mid lane and probably the bot lane. And later in fights he can somewhat peel, well, sadly not being the answer to an Olaf pick here, charging with his Ragnarok. His ult can also be quite a hindrance for Jarvan, but it could also obviously further isolate and separate Afrika Freaks in teamfights. The Gragas here as a flex is somewhat of a nice idea here for the top or the support position. And yeah, Afrika Freaks answering with Thresh Renekton rotation. Thresh, quite competent pick here versus nearly everything here already elected on T1 side. He can cancel Jarvan's combination, Kaiser's ultimate in some sense, and yeah, Syndra, obviously he can hook her, but more importantly his lantern, which quite honestly is the main reason we see him so much actually in pro play. Yeah, here the frontliner, like for example the Olaf going in too far, maybe even the Renekton, he can just throw the lantern and get them out of it. Obviously then, against the Jarvan ultimate he can fish someone out with his lantern as well. For the Renekton here against the Gragas, it's not that great of a matchup. He can't really beat him all too much in lane, and especially without jungle attention. In the mid game he is quite more powerful than the Gragas, as AD bruiser items are let's say quite strong at the moment, and as long as Gragas had not gotten ahead in items, his items in the tank department won't cover the potential damage Kiin can do here with the Renekton. Here also alongside the Olaf from Dread, they can have quite some mid-game bruisers here that spike on the 1-2 items, which can really threaten T1 here, as we see in these picks here, most of the team comp does not offer too much peel or too much CC or anything in face of these two, and especially these two. So usually Olaf could be can't be really CC'd from a Gragas. He could be stopped by the Jarvan with his ultimate, right? Olaf doesn't have any terrain abilities, but then there's Thresh. Also, Jarvan's ultimate doesn't really work against Renekton. So there are some problems here on T1 side, but we're going further into these later on. Lastly for T1 here, the Pyke for carrier. So obviously first, carrier is a very good Pyke player, but still that's not really the main issue here. They give up on the peel and protection idea, and they want to dive down, double down on these dangers here, because the Pyke hooking these frontliners into T1 is actually not really what they want. They want them to be away, and the Pyke E as a stun is also not really something to peel and protect his team. His ultimate can be quite good, as it couldn't cut the life stealing short, and yeah, the Ori and the Xayah can only get so far away from him. In most late game cases though, he will be the worst Thresh, and yeah, if that stayed, or if he's behind the curve earlier than that, well, in this matchup here, T1 may even not have a support at all, as he won't offer really much of anything. In the early lane phase though, it's a different story. Sure, I'm willing to bet that he will help Teddy to do fairly well here. Their combination is obviously way more aggressive and way more adept in the laning phase than the Xayah Thresh lane. So yeah, the laning phase will be here in T1's favor. But yeah, that's only for the isolated 2v2 matchup, which is not really all that matters in the game at the moment, as the lanes are important, but the skirmishes and the more 5v5 team fights are becoming more and more relevant at the moment. Yeah, an interesting thing with Pyke here and Carrier's playstyle in combination is obviously that he can roam into the mid lane quite easily with his W, and the push that Kai'Sa often brings in lanes. So yeah, he could, with the Jarvan, probably from here, try to force down onto the Orianna. Not the greatest target, yes, she is immobile and only has the flash, will not likely take a cleanse or something, which obviously she shouldn't, but yeah, she is not the greatest target, as she can stand next to her turret, and then these roams or early maneuvers won't really work all too much. Also, AfrikaFrix also knows, right, that T1 really thrives with these early plays, especially Jarvan, like his level 2 ganks. I would not recommend it, but the level 2 gank from a Jarvan is obviously one of his greatest strengths in the early and most of the relevant game stages. Talking here now overall for AfrikaFrix on their side, they have the early power in the top lane here. Here with the Olaf and Renekton, yes, both AP, not synergizing too well in that damage department, but yeah, there are few champions that can win intensive skirmishes against these two. And yeah, skirmishes is their plan here in the mid game, double down on this early power they have, while Orianna and Xayah here in the mid lane and AD carry position as so often scale nicely. And yeah, also one has to consider the safety Xayah has on her own, right? As an AD carry that doesn't need much peel. Orianna also can fight from further back, as I already teased upon. Thresh here helping out with his W, and the potential danger even a Thresh can be to a Syndra, to a Kai'Sa with his W and his box. It's just quite an issue against the short range and immobile champions, or more immobile champions on T1 side. The damage of these Season 11 bruisers here also quite hard, and will be a great matter of pressure for T1 as well. So the frontlining champions of Afrika pack a punch, and then you have the DPS of the Xayah and the potential shockwave of an Orianna as well. So Afrika high on damage, and these frontliners are also quite tanky and sturdy in these early and mid game stages. So for this situation, T1 really needs to be careful and probably should avoid direct confrontations here in face-up fights. And as I also alluded to, there's little way to really stop them should they come too close. Again, the limited peel options here on T1 side are quite vulnerable for their carries in the end. I already talked quite a lot about T1 here, but again, going into more detail, with these two champions here they locked in at the beginning, they got some very powerful champions that are highly valued in the meta at the moment. And one would allude that they have quite the edge here, but they get a difficult time here. In terms of classic front to back, the damage of their team comp with these two and maybe Pyke resets is not an option, that's absolutely not it. But yeah, without a reliable front line, going over these two in a bit, and without Peel and especially CC to lock these targets that are storming into T1 without to stop them reliably, Kai'Sa can't really stand an auto attack all too much. Syndra is really key here because her QE combination can at least deter the Renekton, and then Olaf could be locked up by the Jarvan, and then T1 can at least try to do something, so they have to keep the fights distant and obviously slower. Africa Freaks want to rush in, so T1 has to disengage with the little abilities they have and keep them on range and have the fight slow. So Kai'Sa can stack up her passes multiple times, Syndra can again use her E on hopefully multiple targets, and then so on and so on. And avoid to get into the thick of things with Africa Freaks team comp here. But that's not the thing that T1 really easily can do. They have this chance, but it's not really probable. Talking a bit more about the more unusual Jarvan pick here, against the Olaf in particular, his clear speed is slower. Overall, Jarvan's clear speed is not too high. His tankiness as a tank engage jungler is also lower than most usual junglers. And combine these two things. If you have slow clearing speed and you want to go tanky, well, what happens in the end? You're not getting enough gold to buy your tank items in the right amount of time to be on curve with the very powerful AD items at the moment. So his effectiveness will even be lower and lower over time. And his style of play as an engaged champion that goes in melee versus these bruisers on Africa Freak side will mostly lead to his death if he's not too careful. His ultimate and CC is also flashable, as it's quite slow. Thresh here also again with his W, and Orianna Xayah are not even the easiest targets to get to. And his greatest ability here is the potential early gank onto the Orianna. That's the most reliable target. The Renekton in the top lane would be a bit cheesy with Gragas, should Gragas turbo int and go AP. AP Gragas and the Jarvan obviously have enough damage at the early levels to take down the Renekton in case of a top lane gank. Skip Raptors. So something like this with the Gragas, and then Gragas levels E, Greek E, and then some EQ combos. They maybe could take down the Renekton, but that's also not creating any lead that is worthwhile for T1. So it's very strange, the pick. He has a short time frame to do something, and then even the lanes that he can attack early on and with more reliably, the Syndra and the Gragas are not really champions, especially in these matchups, that would take this lead to the next level and carry T1 to a great stage in these early mid-game stages. Only later on they really become super effective. Then maybe you're thinking about his ultimate, right? EQ flash and then ultimate at 4 or 5 targets. That would be really, really cool and maybe lead to something if T1 had some Wombo combo abilities, right? But there are no really major AoE abilities other than Pike and the Gragas cast, and there's also a lot of anti-synergy with these two abilities as well. And the follow-up for an Flash EQ ult is also, you have to cover a large amount of distance to follow up on that. And many champions on T1's side can't really reliably do that without expecting to also flash in this combination here. And then there's also all the problems with the Africa Freaks combo being very, very safe here. So further on here in these skirmishes Kai'Sa, she wants to skirmish, so does the Syndra. Their skirmish abilities are quite strong. Yeah, and the Pyke problem here. So Pyke's ultimate and his overall kit becomes more useful if his team has a lot of damage and he can like finish up on the already existing damage, right? Amplifying the team's damage with his executes. And yeah, he's adding on to damage. He's not really a major source of damage in most cases on his own, unless there's specific scenarios. So he only can follow up if Kai'Sa or Syndra have already dealt quite a lot of damage, and then he can create panic with his ultimate resets. But yeah, as I alluded to, the chance for Kai'Sa and Syndra to do like all too much here against the potential dangers of Afrika that they control will be very, very hard and quite unlikely. So yeah, where went it wrong? One could say the Kai'Sa Syndra is a bit greedy to lock in both at the same time, but yeah, I would obviously target the Jarvan, and the playstyle obviously in the end is also a major problem here. In the extreme late game cases of 6 items, where Jarvan is not one-shotted and has some items after an EQ combo, obviously the bruisers, as talked about so often, will fall off a bit in these late game stages. T1 has better chances, but unless they get some lucky snowball ahead early and then can slow down the game, T1 will have many issues come the mid game fights. And that's it. This lead to Afrika Freaks game 1 win here. The bot lane went in T1's favor quite hardly. We saw great performance from Carrier and Teddy in the bot lane 2v2, and they didn't really need too much jungle assistance. But the other lanes from T1, you would say they were fine, but fine is not good enough here. In the mid game they were not ahead, so they weren't really able to reliably fight against the mid game power spikes that Afrika's side has, and especially their ease of execution for a team like T1 that is swapping out their team rosters like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and against Afrika Freaks that have now played every game with the same roster, the synergy is obviously very different, and for T1 then to play a very limited frontline kind of game obviously becomes even more difficult to execute that completely. And in the end they were then torn apart by Afrika Freaks. And Afrika Freaks on the other side, more focusing on them for example, they weren't taking many unnecessary risks where their players could be singled out or getting caught. And then they didn't allow T1 to turtle off that much. And they break T1's game 1 win streak here. And well, that on the other side sounds very, very bad for T1. Their game 1s were always, by far their best games. So one has to wait and see what happens in game number 2. In the game number 2, obviously there is a side selection switch, but T1 obviously, as usual, has not switched any members, so they're continuing with the same roster. And they're banning very similar champions as well. So they're keeping the Seraphine ban, but now they're adding on the Orianna after game 1 and the Gunnar in the first stage. I have to say, the Seraphine ban, it makes sense if you're not wanting to deal with it. Okay, take it away. The other two, a bit more questionable. Orianna absolutely was not the issue in game number 1, and the Gunnar ban up front, it's very strange. It indicates that you want to set up something for the top lane, so Afrika Freaks already see this now, and they have to be careful or have to pay attention to that. But it's a bit too early for a Gunnar ban, I think, and it's also a bit more telegraphed in what you want to play. Also top lane attention on the blue side. I already talked a lot about this in the last review here. The blue jungle. The blue jungles are the worst sides usually for most junglers. and the red sides are the better ones. So if you want to play around top side, you usually prefer the red side here, because your red side, your good jungle, where the really good camps are, is on the top side. So your jungler is usually in the proximity and doesn't really have to move all that much, or deviate from his usual path to the top side. Obviously, the red side here has the more dangerous top side as well. For a top laner, he is able to be attacked from more angles. So playing around top side for the red team also protects the top laner even more with the jungler attention from the potential dangers. So overall, more top side focus now on the blue side. It's not undoable, it's not terrible, but the red side obviously has some edges in this strategy, and usually the Renekton Lilia rotation is something we see here on the red side more often than on the blue side, and there is a reason for that. But now finally coming to Africa second ban rotation, the Udyr again, the Taliyah and the Kalista again. So Taliyah ban 101 on the blue side, on the red side. The Camille here is now open in comparison to the first game. So maybe that's something for T1 to pick up, especially as they have shown some interest in the top lane with the Gnar ban up front. We get the first pick Olaf again here, now for Cast, so maybe he can show similar performance than Red on this Viking. On the other side, he is not opting for the job in this case, but he goes for the Graves, following the Syndra. So the great combination of Syndra Graves, one of the, if not the strongest mid-jungle duo that we have seen in the last couple months, and also on this patch it's quite strong. Graves really can't 1v1 the Olaf too much, and he obviously can peel, but with the Ragnarok of Olaf, not too many champions can really peel Olaf, as CC is rendered useless, but there is this CC that can be quite good against Olaf, and that is the CC of killing him. Obviously in def he can't do shit, and Graves obviously with his damage can help with that, adding another threat, another target for Olaf. So even if Olaf is diving onto Graves, there's the mid laner, there's the AD carry, and a potential damage top laner that can then kill the Olaf. So getting another damage dealer may be the option to deal with Olaf in this case here. It's at least a bit better in every case than the Jarvan, because he wasn't really doing all too much in the game number 1. T1 here opting up with the Kaiser again for Teddy and the Zoe for Closer. Well, both have some poke in their kit, right? Kaiser W and everything from Zoe. They have still some anti-synergy here, as you see, simply said, Kaiser wants to go in, Zoe wants to play back and just poke. So there's a bit of anti-synergy here in the direction they want to take the team fight. One wants to move forward and obviously need the rest of the team to come with her, and the other one wants to stay backwards, kite a bit backwards as well, move away from the enemy, and obviously needs her front line to kite backwards as well. So there are already two positions that are tearing the team apart, if you want it like that. It's not too difficult and not too bad, but obviously can lead to some errors here. The Zoe also picked into the Syndra. Well, it can work with some help or like outplays. So either Closer here has a different view on the matchup, which is a bit strange, or he's just very confident that he can do it. Zoe is a really good pick for him. It was his debut pick, and I think he got a quadruple in his first game, so he has some good memories with the pick. And it's not super terrible. Again, I wouldn't really recommend it into the Syndra. Just an easy Echo pick. Yes, it's very aggressive, but Echo also does fairly well into the Graves. So that's maybe something. Then for Africa Freaks, yeah, Bang is getting his Samira here. Well, he's not super known for the pick, but he has already had some decent performances on the pick in the previous games. In the laning phase against the Kai'Sa, it's not doing too well. And yeah, positive side for him, T1 has no CC here. So the jungler is not offering any CC, so the top laner and the support are the only ones left that could offer CC that, yeah, stops Samira resets in some fights here. So yeah, good times are ahead of Bang, potentially. In the second ban phase, Ornn again meets the bench, and yeah, he's accompanied by the Crocodile. So yeah, taking away the Ornn here to protect their backline again. These two are more immobile than others. And yeah, the Ornn would do quite some work with him. The Graves Ornn, quite a decent combination as well. It would also completely lock up top line for like any attack with the Olaf or overall, as Ornn is just like is impenetrable. He can just completely nullify nearly everything in the top lane, even if he's being pushed around. He's always scaling super hard, enabling his team. His team fights are so good, and it really also takes a lot of hard work to get him behind. So banning him also further shows T1 they have some interest in top lane here, getting something aggressive in there. And the Renekton, a bit strange. You have banned the Gnar, who is more known to be a counter to the Renekton. So maybe there's something where they both share a strength too. Not too sure. Maybe it's just to be sure. But for Africa, the Renekton would also not be too great of a choice. Graves Renekton, they have early power, but obviously T1 could then obviously here elect a Malphite or something like that by Ninja Tabis and completely style on them. So the Renekton is really a wasted ban. Africa Freaks should never really elect him in this case here. On the other side, the Camille, obviously against Canna, and the Alistar against Carrier. But the Camille is here obviously banned. Africa Freaks banned it in the first game. Now in the second half, after the Talia ban here, they can ban it again. And somehow T1 with the Gnar pick, they focused on top side, but they didn't really ban pick any top laner in the first half, and now multiple top laners have met the bench. So the top lane pool is a bit diminished, especially the carry orientated top laners have gone down a bit here. So that's a bit strange obviously, but Africa Freaks continues with the top lane in their first pick for the second rotation. Gragas here again, as the support is not elected, can be a flex, hence not really too known for Gragas play. Still, I assume at this point every support can play Gragas, and Lehens obviously a very gifted mechanical player. So I'm not really too worried about this potential flex. And the Gragas already, nothing too good against the Olaf, but against the Kai'Sa and the Zoe can do fairly well. And again in the top lane, the same as I said in the first game, he is so very safe. His W was just a bit broken, or like more his passive, his regeneration just scales very nicely. T1, they seemingly see some scaling in this comp here, and then they say, let's not scale against that, let's go for more early aggression. So the Pantheon with the Kai'Sa, very oppressive lane. His ultimate, especially for the probable top lane focus, can be used there, and that's a classic cross-map plays he's enabling, not really helping T1 with the problems, but further amplifying their strengths. As I said, Simpler the Akali, well, she has no business here, but let's be a bit more positive. Her mid-game power, obviously there, she's quite known for it. The targets that she has, they are very squishy, very juicy, and yeah, can be a nice snack for her. Problem is, she won't really get a lead through the laning phase, and yeah, also if you look at it geographically, the top lane is away from the scene of action for T1. Yeah, with the Pantheon Kai'Sa, the red side jungle here, they want to play around this part of the map most of the time. So yeah, the Akali has to move quite a long way. Instead, yeah, mid lane Akali had an easier time here. Also, Gragas already logged in, so top lane, there's nothing happening. Yeah, it's not too smart. She's not really being able to snowball too much, and yeah, not really enabling the Olaf as well. So Olaf, yeah, is a very controversial pick in the past. Now he's being better and better because of the items, right? But the champion has stayed somewhat the same. He needs setup from his team, he needs enablers, and yeah, on T1 side he really has not found anything. The top lane is not really helping him. The Gragas is obviously blocking this here, like a gate you could imagine. In the mid lane we have two people here fighting it out, but yeah, they're not fighting here. They're fighting they're fighting here and here. So yeah, Gragas really can't do too much here. And bot lane is not really the lane Gragas likes too much. In the team fights, similar story. Gragas wants to move in, so does Kai'Sa, so does Pantheon, so does Akali. But none of these are really helping Gragas, helping the Olaf in his ability to threaten the backline all too much. It's just like random guys all running in, with each has their own identity. The Pantheon and Kai'Sa have a similar style and similar preference. The Akali wants to flank, Olaf here wants to run in. So yeah, it seems nice, but it's a bit misaligned here overall. But stopping here and moving to the last pick of the Africa Freaks with the last pick Nautilus. Well, yeah, he is the one-man comeback card for Africa. If we look at the lanes, they're not really hard losing, but they're not being in pressure positions here. And yeah, the overall early power lies obviously by T1. Olaf, Zoe is quite good, so is Syndra, but the Pantheon, Akali are just way better, and Kai'Sa is probably going to win lane again, especially here with the Pantheon in the support position. So T1 has a winning lane here. This lane is quite even, and this is in T1's pressure, but they're not hard winning. And the jungle 1v1 Olaf against Graves also goes mostly in Olaf's favor in the isolation, right? So T1 will have the early advantages, and with their champions they can snowball that quite nicely. So what happens if you get snowballed upon? You need to turtle up. Yeah, Africa Freaks certainly have the ability to and have the scaling, but then if you're turtling enough, some time has passed and the turtle needs to attack. So just turtling is not really winning. You need the comeback abilities, you need the pick potential, for example. Syndra has that certainly, Gragas as well, but yeah, get someone in there who's also a frontline, who can, the Pantheon and Akali, they are stoppable. Olaf is unstoppable, but there's enough damage here on their side to kill him. And the other ones, they are stoppable by Gragas Nautilus, so get another body in there to block the damage. And obviously Nautilus, his entire kit works around getting picks or locking a single target up. So in the case T1 is spreading the map too thin, or is mispositioning, the Nautilus can snap and get the comeback starting for Africa Freaks with his lockup. Obviously the combination with the Syndra, they have some nice instant lockup or like lockup follow-up with the damage then on their team. Yeah, there is no chance for T1. Their champions aren't squishy enough to withstand the lockup. Also, they're not too mobile to really get away or to dodge it all that great. So yeah, the Nautilus, usually not too great of a champion, but he certainly fits into a few slots as well. Some may argue, okay, what about Blitzcrank? There have been arguments for Blitzcrank in the, in the LEC. Here I could say a Blitzcrank, yeah, could do similar stuff, but obviously is not as tanky, and I value the Nautilus ultimate against Akali players, because, yeah, in the Shroud, while the Blitzcrank ultimate, yeah, can make her visible as well, during the ultimate cast, you can't really CC her, you need a teammate to do that, but the Nautilus, obviously, he can ult, and even if she gets into the Shroud, she will be knocked up and then revealed. So yeah, the Nautilus is a bit better here against the Akali, in my personal opinion. And yeah, he's also, yeah, obviously a bit more tankier than the Blitzcrank. So yeah, that's my take on this debate. Moving on to the overall discussion of these team comps. T1 here, more powerful, more frontline than what they had last time, higher mobility, and yeah, combine this with the leads they have. As I already kind of teased about, they're winning the early game, they're winning the crucial lanes, getting the advantages, creating pressure overall on the map. With these mobile champs, they can also really, yeah, cross map plays, entire map mobility with especially the Pantheon ultimate from the support position. They can further snowball, yeah, multiple leads, spread their leads through lanes. Yes, lanes like the Gragas top lane won't be too much problems, or won't be too set behind. But yeah, the other lanes of Africa Freaks will be some juicy targets, and yeah, they will be getting some nice gold leads through this. They were getting a nice snowball, and with these champions, they're known snowball champions. These champions then further amplify each other. But yeah, so if the snowball is rolling and rolling faster and faster, what happens if he hits a rock or a tree? And yeah, then he won't really start to roll too much again. See, the front line of T1 is Olaf Pantheon. If they're ahead, which they should be, they're good. Otherwise, they're completely useless, especially against Africa Freaks high damage. If the front line of T1 turns useless, Kai'Sa will be again in a state like the first game, where she can't do too much damage. Similarly, the Zoe, well, she's not too reliant on frontline. In teamfights and skirmishes, she too really likes some peel at least. And yeah, it will be very impossible to have teamfights in a future like that. The Renekton and Olaf were good frontliners for Africa Freaks before. Here, with more DPS from the Graves and the Samira than what T1 had last game, the Bruiser-like champions from T1 will be shredded into pieces if they, as I said, fall behind. Otherwise, obviously, Pantheon, if he's ahead, Olaf if he is ahead, has the pressure from these champions. Everything is fine. But yeah, Africa Freaks has the means to pick, has the means for a comeback in their team comp. So yeah, T1 needs to be a bit careful. Their champions, again, snowball very hard. But yeah, just a tiny poke, just a tiny pick from Africa can really throw a wrench in their wheels. Africa Freaks here, as I said a second ago, they will fall behind. Then 5v5 can't even be problematic. Barrage in mills or outplays, right? And their best way for them would be to try open field fights, like a lane or a river, where they can use their terrain scaling quite nicely. And in these open fields, with their pick potential, maybe try to isolate someone. It's a bit harder in the jungle areas, where a Zoe can obviously be a bit more tricky, so does Akali, while the Syndra and Samira can't really do too much against these larger walls. So open field river fights probably around the dragons, probably third, if push comes to shove, even the fourth drake, the soul drake. Africa Freaks have their best chances here. And the overall damage of their comp is very, very high. So yeah, it's easy for them to burst single targets down. The overall performance from player like Liiv is very, very important here. To what timer would that be? So like around 23-25 minutes. So yeah, when they're on 2 items, I think Afrika Freaks can look to something to punish T1. Before that, they have to be very, very, very in their shell, again, as a turtle would be. In the end here, Afrika Freaks was able to win. So T1 was really steamrolling the game. Not really sure, I think it was a 5k gold lead at some points, and with these champions, there's like no way they would ever lose. Well, that's what everyone thought, but Liiv. So yeah, there was a miracle team fight. I think like Carrier got caught by Syndra, got one-shotted before he could press E. That's like worse enough, but yeah, Liiv saw God's face or something, flash Q forward, hitting Kaiser and blowing Teddy up completely, turning the team fight for Afrika. And yeah, after this team fight, they then were able to actually collapse on closer. Cuz, and I think Carrier was also there in the mid lane as they were overextending for some random minions, which lead to Samira getting a triple kill and the Baron, and yeah, that's it. Samira getting a triple kill and she was like 6-1 and 2. That's it. Like there's very, very little T1 can do against that, because their backline threat is not too reliable, right? Akali obviously always can press R and could kill Samira, but it's not really reliable. Especially with the Baron buff, Afrika Freaks was able to scale too hard, and T1's champions, they need leads. Otherwise, they're not really doing too much, and that's a specific type of lead. So there are 2 types of leads in the game. Either you have more gold than the clock has, and as such more gold than the enemy, or you have more gold, which is cool, but the enemy is also behind the clock. So they get zoned of XP, zoned of minions, and as such they're behind what they usually should be, and then their champions are even worse, right? In this game, T1 was able to establish such a lead, so the scaling of Afrika Freaks was really set behind, while T1's champions not only were ahead on their own, right? The champion on itself was not only very powerful, they were also very powerful through the gold lead directly. This scenario was very, very perfect for T1, and these champions really excelled in this moment. But the moment Afrika Freaks was able to close the gap just a tiny bit for their champions to get even with the clock, not even with T1, but even with the gold amount of the clock, it was really, really close to over, and a Baron buff also buys so much time. It's just little things that somehow, sometimes will cause the end. And Afrika Freaks here with the T1, with the 2-0 against T1, moves up in the standings, and honestly, they had rather clean play as they were able to get the elites, and their ability to stay composed even in the moments where T1 was able to get these leads. It's quite promising for the team. T1 here were not getting to optimal drafts. The drafts were I would say they were better than what we had before. There were avenues to success which weren't taken because of various reasons, right? Especially in the game number 2. After the 2-0 win earlier this week, now they're losing all the pain points they gained there, and move back to square number 1 with their spring ambitions. That's it for now. Thanks for watching till the end. It was quite long again. Sorry for that. I will try to figure something else to make these videos a bit quicker, but there are lots of infos, lots of hidden moves, and lots of synergies and combinations in these drafts, I'm sure you have noticed. So yeah, I try to point out at least the most relevant, but yeah, if you have any suggestions what I focus on more and leave something out, yeah, let me know it in the comments down below. Down below also you can find the playlist and the description where you can find previous draft reviews and other content on my channel. For example, the review of like GNG T1 or the most recent one, Liiv Sandbox vs T1. Yeah, anyway, again, just a shortened connotation here. The players of T1 seemed really lost after the laning phase, and their macro game was quite bad. The isolation gameplay time, right? The 2-on-2s, the 1-on-1s in the lane, very solid. Then in mid game and the team orientated stages, hesitation, uncoordination. Not really, what you really want, but it's what you expect from a roster that has been changed so often. Even though they have kept the same roster from the Liiv Sandbox game, Africa Freaks is obviously a bit stronger of a team, and to quote Wolf, the former SKT support, while every team in the league seemingly gets better, T1 seems to get worse after every game. I have posted a few comments about the roster changes and the whole situation for T1 on my Twitter. If you're interested in more details or maybe in a discussion, you can also look in the description. There you can find my Twitter account. But overall I would say T1 needs to take a step backward and reevaluate their plan and their strategy for spring. But stopping my rambling, that's it for now though. Stay safe, have a great day, till next time, bye.